Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to some more Warpforge. And it's a little quiet here just because I wanted to capture this opening screen as I like to whenever manage to make a top 50. And just a little preview to we're going to focus on the new rank system today. This was probably the easiest season to make top 50, and we're gonna get into all of that. I want to talk about some of the quality of life changes. I want to talk about rejoining the creator program and kind of what that means for me. But mostly, I really want to talk about the new rank system and answer some of the questions that I think a lot of folks might have, which is this better than the old system? Is this improving deck diversity or the meta or what have you? And really, the big question, is this an improvement or is this creating new problems? So as you might imagine, we'll get into quite a bit of it. Try and keep this video short, as is always my task at hand. But thanks so much for sticking with me, and let's dive in. Well, I figure because we're on this screen already, we might as well talk about one of the bigger changes. That these earned card backs are now going to be essentially timed, and that we'll be able to use them for the season after we achieve them, which would be usual, but that they are only temporary for the next month. And I haven't given a ton of thought to this. I think overall, whenever we've seen a change in Warforge that has, shifted something that players have come to be, to expect. And I realized that in the beginning of Warforge for the seasons, these actually were temporary. I honestly didn't recollect that until someone had pointed that out. But then they were changed to be permanent, and now we're going back. So I really don't know what the logic is here. I don't really think that this incentivizes players to shoot for top 50 necessarily. I guess in some ways, that it would be a fleeting card back and you could don it for that season, as a bit more bragging rights. But my guess is that this change just comes from more of a okay, we don't have to come up with a unique card back every single month, and maybe it's an easier lift if we only have them temporarily. I really don't know the mechanics when it comes to like the coding or the engineering. But I will say when changes like this happen, I feel like there just needs to be like a reason. Not something that's just like these nice messages where they're like, fight for the Imperium or choose to fight this, the new season has begun, let's go, these sort of motivational, and now you'll be able to fight for your card back, stuff like that. For veteran players, certainly, and for a very small community that I'm always talking to, I just feel like this change needs to have some sort of better justification. But also in the grand scheme of what we're going to talk about today, I don't think is the biggest deal overall. So those are my 2 cents on the card backs. All right, and for those who may not have seen it, we got quite an update in the sort of opening UI. I find it to be fine. I know people go back and forth. Maybe we shouldn't have like just this one deal taking up a full panel. I sort of, it's a give and take with with what we get, as players, and what the company may need, or what EG or the powers that be for Warpforge need to market or show. Generally, I will say I think this does clean it up for a lot of people that had initially been like, what are all these menus? We could probably use some cleaning up. The missions, campaign, forge, and now we've got the daily streak window as well. Honestly, I just think it's really hard for this is a little better now. You can shift within the menu. I think that was a good update. But yeah, there's also now the daily tracker where like I have to click this button to get my points rather than it being on the missions page. So take it with a grain of salt. I think a lot of the UI changes are trying to clarify the UI, but also I understand why people kind of say like, is this making new problems, or is this cleaning things up? Also, I like the daily streak, or really the daily login system. I like their introductory one, which was very generous with all the gold and everything. If people want to opt into it, I think that was a way of Warpforge kind of thanking the players for sticking with the game. I don't know how I feel about just sort of getting these crystals, and then the VIP store we'll talk about in a second. I guess it's fine. I do think there should be some accrual of resources every time you log in. I think that's great. I also have my own issues with the sort of carrot on the stick type vibe where it's like, all right, well now let's just go into the VIP store. Something that I figured was going to come from Horus Heresy Legions. So now you have to log in 7 days in a row to be a VIP. Maybe at some point, which is I think what they did in HHL, you can like buy something that just upgrades you to veteran status. I mean, I love that we have two shops now, right? Like we've got our regular one, which also, although I don't know why the scrolling is wrong. Now we have 2 extra slots down here, which is something, right? 10 cards is better than 8. And then we've also got the VIP store, which has another 10. I don't know why. Maybe something with the UI. I can't like actually fully scroll down. So we're getting more shop updates. We're getting the daily login. Like there is more happening, I think, to bring this game, to the quality that I hope for it. And for those who know my, I'm worried about Warpforge video, this is really kind of a small follow-up that I think things are moving in the right direction, but I think we should also be learning from the potential, misfires or sort of missed attempts, as it were. 10 cards in a store is great. Honestly, we've got 12 factions in the game. Like, would it be a crazy thing to have 12 card slots? Maybe, maybe not. I don't think so. I think it'd be nice if you could log in every day and go into the card store and be like, oh, like I know guaranteed there's something for a faction that I want to play. So I think between the VIP store and the regular card store, hopefully this will just get better and better for free-to-play players who can stock up their crystals, get the cards that they need without having to invest a ton of money. I generally think that's good. I also want to comment on something which I think is really important. So when I rejoined the creator program, there's a huge incentive to do that because, as you can see, I have like a bunch of gold. This comes from, I think it's 9,000 gold that you get for being accepted to the creator program. Plus you get 5 campaigns premium, I think. And I got gold because I already had some of those premium campaigns. I think I was missing Eldar, Necrons, Tyranids. That might be it. That actually probably was it. So now I have every campaign premium. As someone who invested in this game and really has been, just a big fan of this game and a creator for this game, things have been shaky at times, and I really haven't been around making content, these last couple months for good reason. But there's a huge incentive now to become a creator. Now, the caveat with that is the creator requirements are a bit more in depth, right? So I think it's 500, subscribers on YouTube, 1,000 followers on Twitch. I'll make sure I throw out the numbers there, but it's a bit of a lift, especially for a small community. And I would encourage the powers that be to shift that down a bit, maybe half of that. For instance, good friends with quite a few creators, and one I had reached out to, really was like, can you highlight this on the channel and let folks know? And I'm happy to, because I would rather us have more creators. There are like real rewards, like 9,000 gold plus 5 faction premium campaigns. That's not nothing, right? And so I would love for more people to be able to access that. But in such a small community, it's going to be hard to do that unless you really have an established channel. I'm lucky that you all have stuck with me for this long, that we cracked 1,000 subscribers this past year. And that, I lose subscribers, gain subscribers, it goes up and down, but that generally, I've got people who have stuck by me, and that's taken years to do. We're going into our second official year of Warpforge in October, but really 3 years if we include the demo. So it took 3 years to cultivate that. So I just think that just to be very upfront, like I'm very grateful that I could rejoin the creator program, and I intend on bringing the same quality videos, if not higher, on the channel. But I really hope that other people have that experience as well. All right, folks, I know you're here for this, and I feel like there's a lot to talk about. So early on, we were all kind of wondering, how is this whole like bonus win underdog faction thing gonna work for ranks? That, okay, I've hit legendary, I'm at 0 trophies, How is this going to work, right? We've already got folks grinding on the leaderboard. Can we see last season? Yep. And just to think about the numbers, because this is important. So 6,300 trophies means that, they got to 2,500 rating, and then they grinded another 6,300, right? Because if you look at the total score when you're playing against someone, it's that combined total, I believe, or maybe they changed it. But this is, 6,300 is nothing to sneeze at. If we're roughly doing the math, and so I'll show you guys where, obviously you saw at the start of the video where I was at 24. This was the easiest season because really all I did was grind. I think it was maybe to like 1,400 or 1,500. And I was trying some of the new Eldar stuff. I was doing a little bit of Ultramarines. I would say playing what I would consider some of the stronger factions or stronger decks. Got to about 1,500. And then for the next 2 weeks, I just grinded out every single bonus win from every faction. Right, so all 12, I was able to get all 10 wins with each, including the underdogs, which for this season was Orcs, Sisters of Battle, and Dark Angels. And I'm actually really excited to kind of talk about some of the meta stuff and decks I used in future videos. But really, what does this mean, right? So basically, any player who grinds out the most trophies they can before they start getting their bonus wins is going to have the advantage. Why? Because if they can hit a good trophy sort of break point, right? And that means essentially there's a certain point, and I wish I could tell you guys the exact number. I don't know it off the top of my head. And please comment down below if you guys have other helpful information you'd like to add to the video. And this existed with the last system. I believe it was once you, with the old system, hit like 35 or 3,600 with a faction, which was definitely quite the grind. The win rate kind of, the win-loss ratio changed, where it would be like 3 points per win, 5 points per loss, or 8 points per loss. And it would basically kind of get smaller and sort of more compressed. And the same thing happens with this system, where if you hit a certain trophy number, you're not going to gain a ton of points. But as long as you hit a pretty good win rate, which I'm sure, last season, all of the top, players did, you hit a pretty good win rate. And I heard some stuff from Rubillo and Jammo. Jammo was really playing a ton of Eldar before getting their bonus wins. But this player, and I don't know their name, pretty much jumped ahead because they had farmed up to like 4K trophies and then did all of their bonus wins. And it just netted them an additional 2K. Because if you think about it, you've got 12 factions, 10 wins per. Roughly, you're getting between 20 and 25 points per win. At least it was for me, most of this grind. And then for the underdog factions, you're getting like 33. So you basically hit this kind of like diminishing returns threshold. And then by using this system, you start, as long as you have a pretty decent win rate, you still get 2 free losses on each one, which actually does make quite a difference if you're a pretty experienced player. It means that you're going to be able to just shoot up, right? Because this is going to give you roughly, 250 points per faction, right? So that's going to be, nearing like 3,000 extra points roughly. So I do think this new system is, and this is where we get into the pros and cons a little bit. So what is it trying to do? It's trying to kind of artificially put deck diversity and faction diversity into the game by highly incentivizing players to play as many factions as possible to get those bonus wins, right? Now I understand the concept, right? Which is that if we can essentially make the players who care the most about playing ranked and enjoy ranked the most and want to optimize, they're going to have to play 12 factions that season if they really want to get, their high score. So it's sort of, like I said, it's kind of artificially making the meta diverse, because I've got to get my 10 wins with Ultramarines, but I also got to get my 10 wins with Orcs, which was quite the challenge this season. I'll hopefully get to talk about that in some future videos. And so this means that the more you can grind essentially the best deck in the format, or maybe the 2 best decks in the format at the beginning of the season, and get to like 2K, maybe 3K trophies, which is quite a grind, without getting your bonus wins. Then, with probably the last 2 weeks in the season, knock out your 120 games, right? And then you're going to inflate your score like 2,500 to 3K more. And so I think that's what, the people who want to be in the top 50 are going to start doing. And that means that at least in the earlier part of the season, the meta is not going to be diverse. Sure, some people won't do the same thing, but the top 50, top 100, top 200 players, and it's unfortunate we don't have the faction leaderboards anymore. Like I really, let's just get those back. I think everyone really enjoys them. I think everyone likes to see like, oh, we've got the Ultramarine specialist with Jacob Silverblade. We've got Buggy on Chaos. We've got Shimatsu on Tyranny. Like I think people enjoy that, and having a reputation for mastering a faction, which I feel like I've never done. I always just kind of float around. But so again, not everyone's going to do the same thing every season. But if you want to optimize playing ranked and you enjoy that competitive edge, that it's like I said, artificially making the meta more diverse. Now, did I enjoy playing with every single faction and testing my deck building skills and seeing if I could switch up playstyle to playstyle, warlord to warlord? Yes, I actually loved it. I'll just kind of preview one video I know I'm going to do. Dark Angels, they've been in a rough spot for a bit. I will say I played my old Ravenwing Asmodai build, and it was just like way more consistent and reasonable than I've seen in a long time. Now, that could have been a mixture of all the different decks I played against, and so maybe I had a good matchup spread, which I think from memory, for the most part, that seemed true. But it was kind of nice to be like, oh yeah, I can still win with this faction. It is possible. I don't feel like it's the worst thing in the world. But so I think this rank change is attempting a positive thing, right? Which is better deck diversity, and sort of making it a little clearer, like, okay, your trophies start at 0 and then you climb up and blah, blah, blah. Now we know how these bonus wins work. They are excellent for when you kind of hit that diminishing win return wall. Or let's say, the meta is getting very stale. You're incentivized to play those other factions, and that's great. But we get to kind of like basically the end of my rant here about the new ranked, which is that how many average players can competitively play all 12 factions every ranked season? I think the answer is pretty low, right? 12 full, like, even if they just have the starter warlord of that faction, are they going to have 12 fully formed decks to be able to compete against people who have obviously these larger collections like myself, who have all the premiums and all that stuff? No, they're not going to be able to do that, right? And so you can't actually jump into this game. Yes, you can get to legendary, and like that is an achievement, starting out when you don't have a big collection. But then when you're like, I want to level up and I want to play, I want to sit at the big table and all of that, it's just going to take you a lot of money and also a lot of time to get there. And I don't think that that's what we want for the average player, for the new player, right? Because I think people will get hooked into, this universe, and they will get hooked into the quality of the game, the voice acting, all that stuff. But you do have to incentivize them to actually participate in ranked in a way that keeps them coming back. And so even if we weren't going to change, this system, and I know I'm doing a lot of critiquing, one of the solutions I think is baseline. Every single time you rank up in, leading up to legendary, you should get something. Maybe it's 200 gold, maybe it's 2,000 crystals. And to my knowledge, I don't believe there's any incentive other than just wanting to get to legendary for ranking up. So I think that needs to be incentivized. And then I think there just needs to be some way of allowing for players, again, to be compensated for, maybe it's top 100, right? Maybe it's, I guess, so if we have 50 players in each leaderboard for each faction, I do think it should grow a little bit larger than just the top 50 who are the grinders for a card back and whatnot. And like I said, this was the easiest season for me to hit top 50. That there could be a million reasons why. It means that, some returning players may really enjoy and being like, you know what, actually I can hit top 50 and not break too much of a sweat. I can play a bunch of different decks. So again, there's pros and cons to this system. I would just really encourage everyone. I always leave the Discord link for Warforge in the description. Please keep providing your feedback. We had a survey that came out. It feels like we're in a place where the powers that be want feedback. They want us to say what we are looking for. In the hopes that once we kind of finish with all these quality of life stuff and we get to some of the good stuff, which everyone's waiting, are we going to see, Votan as the new faction? Are we going to see Dark Eldar as the new faction? Who are we going to see for the second expansion, which was pretty rough for the orcs, and I hope we learned from that, because now a lot of their stuff is borderline unplayable, if not unplayable. So, it's like, let's clean up shop a little bit. We learned from this season. I'm interested to see the meta report, interested to see how it works with kind of the underdog factions for each new season, plus the balance changes. So, there's a lot, honestly, on the table to look forward to, and that's a lot of why I'm coming back, is because I miss this game, I miss this community, and I love when this game, feels like it's giving me what I need. And so, I really just look forward to everyone hearing their comments down below. What do they think? Negatives, positives, all of it. As always, I encourage helpful critique with reasons and potential solutions, because I do think that makes quite a difference. Just to give a little bit of preview, again, I'm back in full-time work. I don't know how much content I'm going to be able to do every week, but I would love to get out probably a video per week. I would like to go over all the different decks that I played each faction with, because that seemed like a cool thing. So we've got plenty to cover in the coming months, and I'm really hoping we can finish this year stronger with Warforged than we started. So as always, thanks everybody for sticking with me, and I look forward to catching you guys next time.